Welcome to another behind the scenes video. Today I'm going to be talking about our version of Inspector Norse by Todd Terje. Now, we recorded our video about 2 years ago, back in 2018. But today, March the 13th, we've decided to release the recording because we've had a lot of messages asking us for the audio file, DJs wanting to play it in their sets. And we also had a message from Todd Terje himself before Christmas asking if he could have the WAV so that he could play it in his DJ sets. So we really wanted to release it. So it's available today to download or stream. You can go to Spotify or Apple Music, or you can go to our Bandcamp page where you can also buy the track and download it. But I thought it'd be pretty cool to do a video just talking about the kind of piece, the orchestration, a little bit about the mix and the recording, and talk a little bit about the video editing and kind of how I manage all the data and decide on the angles and things like that. But before I jump into it, I just want to mention our Patreon channel. We've got quite a few patrons now, so thank you for your support. If you do want to be one of our patrons, head over to the link in the description and you can get access to exclusive behind the scenes videos as well as discounted merch. Okay, so the arrangement itself, I mean, the reason I came across Todd Terje's music was actually because of Better Call Saul. I think I was watching the second series and there's an episode where they use a track by Todd Terje called Alfonso Muscadunda. It's this really cool upbeat 7/8 drum and bass jazz tune. And as with a lot of TV and films, I always Shazam anything that I'm kind of like, oh, I wonder who that's by. And it came up with this guy, Todd Terje. So I started listening to his album, It's Album Time. And I came across this tune, Inspector Norse. And it kind of became my favourite tune at that time. I was listening to it in the car and listening to it at the gym and things like that. And then I started to think about doing it for Kaleidoscope Orchestra. I thought it'd be a cool tune to do. It's this kind of cult dance tune that I've subsequently started hearing in clubs and underground kind of nights. And so I thought it'd be a really good example of something to bridge the gap between, you know, that electronic dance music genre and orchestral music. And so I started working on the arrangement. And so I'll just jump straight into the arrangement itself and talk a little bit about the instrumentation, the orchestration, and how I went about kind of emulating or recreating that dance track sound. So as with a lot of these EDM tracks that we cover, the main challenge is how to recreate the beat without having a drum kit. I've said before, I'm a drummer, so it could be very easy to just say, right, we'll have kit and I'll just play the beat. But then I think the orchestration it might not necessarily be as interesting and kind of experimental. So I basically took all the parts of the original track again and just decided which instruments they could go with. But I was always thinking, how can we keep the energy and the momentum? And so I actually decided to give the cellos a bit of a workout. They've got this ostinato pattern for a lot of the tune. But it's accented by the double basses who are pizzicato, so they're playing this like bum 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 bum, which is almost, you know, emulating the kick drum. It's like the bum 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 bum. And then as the piece kind of grows, we add more and more elements that recreate the snare, the hi-hat. So I'll just play the start of our version of this track and show you the cellos and basses. And so the first layer that I decided to add was upper strings. So first violins, second violins and violas are playing pizzicato on beats 2 and 4. So again, emulating the snare, basically. So the cellos and basses are going bum, 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 and then the upper strings are going bum, 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 gung, 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 gung. So as a texture on its own, the strings have got this kind of dance beat going. And then just to add that on top, I've added the woodwind who are playing offbeat quavers. So they're kind of emulating the hi-hat. So like boom, 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 boom. So put that all together and you've got this texture. And like with house music, dance music, it's building layer upon layer. So next come in the French horns. And they're more accenting on the beat. So you've just got this nice groove. And then I always wanted the flute to be the kind of main melody instrument in this bit, just because I wanted this cheeky kind of top line that you have in the original. So if I just play the original melody here. But while that melody's introduced, you know, we've got to keep the momentum going and keep the excitement building and building, because it would be very easy to lose that by taking away any instruments or by part of the kind of texture changing and playing the melody. So flute on top and then supported by oboe and clarinet. So here's our version. And I always wanted the melody to pass on to the first violins. I wanted a kind of ensemble of players playing the main kind of melody. It's the tune that I've noticed when a DJ plays this tune in a club, you've got people going da 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 da. That's why it's become this kind of cult tune. You know, people who, you know, it's become a sing-along anthem in a way, and people sing this melody. So I wanted the first violins to take over. And Simi, our leader, is always so good at adding stylistic things to make it have a bit of character. So rather than just dun dun da 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 da, she'll suggest adding like little kind of glissandos and things like that. So it's like da 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 da. And that's what's so great about having these amazing musicians, is the ideas that people come up with, and are kind of happy to share with the rest of the orchestra, so that it becomes a real collaboration. I might work on the kind of arrangement itself so that we're all on the same page, literally. But then when people have these ideas to give it a bit of quirkiness, a bit of character, it's where the piece really comes alive. And so I've added the trombones here that kind of reinforce that horn rhythmic motif. So they're bum 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 bum. So it's making sure we kind of emphasize on the beat as well as these offbeat woodwind motifs. So then the melody passes back to the woodwind, who've got, instead of just a flute solo, this time we've got flute, oboe and clarinet. And the texture dies down because the trombones stop playing, but you've still got this movement in the cello and the basses and the violins. And then from here on, it's basically one big kind of crescendo, big build towards this middle section where the harmony changes. And I really wanted to keep the impact of the original track. You've got this kind of lots of techniques, lots of kind of sweeps building up towards this change. So if I just play the middle section of the original. So that's really the kind of release moment. That's the point that we're aiming for. And so the real trick is kind of bringing instruments back in. So I bring in bits of brass textures, you know, these held chords. So for example, this. just to give like different sounds coming in, but you're not quite at that kind of climax yet. So if I carry on playing our version. Cello's still going for it. And that's almost a false drop, so you think it's building towards that, but then it comes back down to this kind of restrained feel. Woodwind build up, and then I really wanted a bit of kind of tension. So then the woodwind kind of pass each other this melody. So we go from flute to oboe to clarinet. And then, again, the texture's building, strings are playing tremolo, which is kind of very atmospheric and a bit kind of tense. It's like... So tremolo is where you play really fast on the bow to make this kind of, almost like a drum roll. So like... And this is the first time we kind of lose the cello and basses, so there's no bum, 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 bum. But we do still have a little bit of movement in the brass. So the French horns and trombones are playing this almost kind of reggae feel, like boom, bum, bum, dun, 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 which I thought was really cool. It's kind of a different feel, but it's still got that momentum before the bass trombone, two and double basses and bassoons come back in with a bit of rhythm, building and building towards this middle section. So that's that reggae horn thing. Violins crescendoing. And so this middle section, I really wanted it to be big brass chords, but again, I didn't want to lose the kind of momentum, so it was important to have moving parts. The melody is very kind of rhythmic, so that helps keep the momentum going, but also I wanted the bass line to have held chords, but then also movement, so it's like boom, bum, 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 boom, bum, 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 bum. And it's just having things like that to give it that kind of excitement, but also keep that epic sound. You don't want just a block texture of everyone playing big long notes. And one thing that's great about the original that I love is this arpeggiator thing at the top that's kind of going, and I thought that'd be a great thing for the woodwind. So I'll just play the original track. And again, it's just a lift. You've still got the drums going in the original, but having this really fast kind of moving thing on top is really exciting. So I put that straight into the woodwind, and so we've got first flute, first oboe, first clarinet, and then they pass it on to the second of each pair of instruments, if that makes sense. So just for breath reasons, basically. So you've got this kind of passing motif. And I just love that sound. I mean, it's almost lost because of the brass, but without that thing on the top, you'd really miss that kind of energy. And the trumpet takes over the melody. And then on the original track, you have this kind of big swell, this big build-up, and then everything just gets kind of stripped back again. And it's almost like the recapitulation. So if you were talking in kind of classical terms, this is where the main theme comes back in a different kind of form, and there are other counter melodies that are there. And one of the counter melodies that I really liked was this. There's like a kind of soft synth in the background that's going. So if I just find that. And you've got the other elements as well. And the drum beat. But I wanted to do something different as well with the recapitulation, so I just took that melody itself and just kind of made a woodwind feature out of it. So you've got this real stop, you've got this big swell and then a sudden stop. Completely different feel, no drum beat at all. And then it comes back into the... And I just thought it was just an interesting thing to do, was to bring this kind of different texture in. And then we're building again, it's almost like a coda to the piece. And then I was kind of unsure how to finish the piece, because on the original it's a bit like a DJ mix in that it kind of breaks away again and you just have the drums kind of going away. So I wanted a big kind of version of the melody, so trumpet, French horn, violins, woodwind are all playing. Again, it's that kind of shout chorus type thing. But I didn't want to just end, well I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I thought it could end like this. And just crescendo, but it doesn't feel very finished. And so I was sitting on a train, I remember vividly sitting on a train working on the arrangement, or maybe it was a plane, and Caitlin, my fiance, was kind of like, you know, looking over my shoulder, and I said, I don't know how to finish this arrangement. And she really loves this part of the track at the end where it goes blam 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 blam, and she was like, well, I think you should finish with that. And so I was like, okay, I'll start playing around with this. So I'll just play you the original kind of motif at the end. It's just a really cheeky melody, and so I thought, oh, how about pass that through the strings and then end with a solo flute, because the flute's been the kind of lead instrument with the melody. I thought it'd be really cheeky to just end with this. And so ended up having, it goes back to the kind of cello and bass ostinato as the beginning of the tune with this little ram bam bam bam. I just thought that was a really cool way of doing something different with the ending and really making it, you know, making it our own version. So yeah, I hope that's been interesting in terms of orchestration. I'm going to talk a little bit about the recording. So this on Logic here I'm in, this is a comp of different takes. Now I've said before about us recording to click. Main reason for that is for the video editing, because every take of video footage is useful if it's all in time. It doesn't matter if someone's played something wrong, you can still use the shots of, you know, the flutes or the bassoons or whatever. And so that means we've got, every take is usable footage, which means we've got loads of different angles, and that's how we get the coverage. Because I've always sort of sorted the video side of things myself. I have support from Tom and Mark, who are the guys who record everything. They bring their cameras and help with angles and things, but it is just a case of we do a take and then run around, change the camera angles, get different shots, so that then we have, you know, a shot of the first violin, a shot of the cello, shot of the flute, shot of everyone, without having like, you know, 20 different cameras going. And it means that if something goes wrong in a recording, everything that we do is useful. So this on Logic is a comp of different takes. I think we only did 2 or 3 takes, maybe 4. And then here is just a mix. And there's not much to do mixing an orchestra really, especially something like this. There's no production or anything that's going to be added on top. And so all it is going through the score. So I always have the score by my side, or I'll have Sibelius open to remind me who is playing the important melodies. Sometimes maybe the orchestration's not perfect, so the woodwind might get lost a little bit. And in something like this, the woodwind's quite a feature really, and so I didn't want them to get lost. And so all I've done here is gone through and mixed basically. And I've mixed using a technique that a friend of mine, John Davis, recommended. He helps me with mixing, and he actually mastered this recording. And he said, instead of going through and changing the kind of automation or the volume, I should mix using the gain of each region. And so what I do here is the different regions are boosted, you know, dependent on what you want to hear. So here, for example, flutes at the start, they're not playing, so they're quite low in the mix. But then when they come in with this offbeat thing, I've brought the gain up to 0. So over here you can see gain is -7. And then gain is 0. And that just gives you control over the different elements. I mean, we're all recording together, so there's no, like, you don't have complete separation of every mic, but you do have some control. I mean, you've got to be careful with the gain, because if you boost the flute mic and the strings or the percussion are in it, then it's going to alter the sound of everything. So it's always little subtle changes. But we do get enough separation in that I can, you know, bring forward parts of the orchestra as necessary. So this is the flutes on their own. So you can hear the strings in the background, but if I boost their channel, you're going to get a lot more flute, and it'll bring them forward in the mix. And one section that I suppose is kind of key is this big middle section. The woodwind kind of gets lost, this, so I really boosted them in this section. If I just isolate their channels. You've got a lot of cymbal, you've got the brass in the mics. So if I boost it too much, you're going to get a boost in all of the orchestra, or anything that's being captured by that microphone. And you really don't want to do that, because ultimately with an orchestra recording, you're just capturing the room. You want it to sound like it would sound if you were sitting watching the concert, you know, like listening to it live. So there's not too much in terms of, you know, mixing and production, but it's just having the control to bring forward these little lines so that the important parts come forward. And in this, it's the melody. So if I look at the strings where they first come in, the violins come in with that melody at bar 34, I think it is. I brought them forward in the mix. And so that's all it is really. It's more about the editing, and then when I've got the edit and I've comped everything together, it's just bringing out those melodies so that everything's clear, you know. So that's a little bit about the mixing. What I would have is a project file before this, which is we just record in takes on Logic. So Logic will record a take, and then it kind of goes over the take, so you can choose which bit of which take you want, and it's a very easy process. And again, because we're recording to click, I've got a lot of control over that, so that when I get into Final Cut Pro for the video editing and I've got a rough mix, I can already start to do the video edit. So a little bit about the video. So if I just go through this, I had 5 cameras for this one. So so I had 3 SLRs. So I had an 80D and 2 600Ds Canons, and 2 GoPros. GoPro's not ideal with this because the footage is so different to the SLR quality that I'm sometimes hesitant or kind of reluctant to use it. But sometimes it's the only coverage I've got of certain instruments, and so I will utilize those those other angles. But like I said, because we do 3 or 4 takes, that means I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cameras times 4 takes, so I've got 20 angles potentially. And so what I'll do is, I'm kind of organized with my footage in that I'll have different folders. So if I just show you the kind of file structure here, 12th of June 2018, I've got the 80D footage, 600D A, 600D B, and then the GoPro A, GoPro B. And I don't normally name the footage because I'll get on with the editing quite soon after the recording, so I can remember what order we did things in. So when I import the footage into Final Cut, I've got the 80D folder, and in here I have named the track. So the same session we did the DJ Snake medley. So I've got DJ Snake, and then I've got Norse 1, Norse 2, Norse 3. Norse 1 is cellos here, and then French horns. And then it looks like Norse 3 is a roaming shot. So one thing I like to do is avoid just having tripod shots, because I think that's kind of boring. I mean, it's fine, but if we can do a roaming kind of thing as well, so roaming as in moving around handheld footage, then I think that just, adds a different kind of element. And with something like this, you want it to be kind of energetic and upbeat to match the music. So a little trick that we do is when we're happy with that we've got a take, a full take, whether that's over a couple of different takes, that's fine. But then I'll go from conducting or playing percussion to then filming an angle, and it's just about making sure that I don't get where I would be standing in the shot, if that makes sense. So it's a bit of a cheat, but it means we get an extra angle. It'd probably be easier to have a film crew do it, but we like to keep things all in-house so that we can kind of control everything. And honestly, that's why we get so much done in the space of time, because we're overseeing all those different aspects. So 80D, 600D, so I think, we've got a roaming shot here as well, Norse 4. So I'll have got Tom or Mark to come and hold a camera and just get some more moving shots. And we'll just say, you cover the woodwind, I'll cover the lower strings or whatever. It's a real kind of, it's organised, but it's not like, we don't plan it. It's just right, we've got time to do this last take, let's do it, get some moving shots. So I've got all the different angles, different cameras, and then I'll import everything into the kind of timeline. And so here you can see my edit here. What I would have is just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or more tracks, and they would all just be full videos. And then a bit like with the mixing, I'll go through the score, or I'll just sometimes use my ears and just go, right, flutes are there, we need a shot of the flutes, right, where's the flutes? And one thing I will do when I've imported the footage is name the different angles. So here we've got clarinets, GoPro. So I just isolate that, there's the clarinets. I've got conductor, so that's me dancing away. We've got 600D roaming, violins, so that I don't have to go to each clip and look at it. I can just see, oh, there's clarinets, GoPro, cool, we'll have that there. And then I'll just literally cut, whichever bit I want. Say I didn't want the conductor here, just delete that, and then we've got this 600D shot underneath. And usually it's quite a quick part of the process, this, because again, I know the arrangement having done it, I can very quickly, and remember the footage that I got and go, right, let's get this shot, let's get that. And then that means I can get a very rough cut together quite quickly, even before the mix is done normally. And so I'll probably do a few different takes. I'll do an edit, bounce it down so that I can watch the video and just see if it runs smoothly, if the cut points are kind of musical in a way. Sometimes it's nice to have a cut on the beat, like it feels like da, 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 da. But sometimes it's too kind of obvious to do that. And so it's just about getting the rhythm of the edit right, showing what's being played, and making sure that it all kind of works together. One thing I also do is add a bit of movement on the footage. So this is a fixed shot, but I've added a little plugin so that it zooms out on that shot of Simi. And again, it just means it's not just a boring kind of static shot, and I think it really makes a difference. And so then when I've done this, I think I've changed my process since I did this one, but I'll bounce it out and then make it into a master file so that I can color grade it. I'm not an expert with color grades, but I like to make it look a little bit more cinematic. I mean, you can just tell there that footage it looks great, the color's nice, but it's just kind of raw. And so adding a bit of a color grade gives it that kind of professional look. And yeah, so that's kind of how the video comes together. and then I'll run it by some of the players. Simi and Rhiannon will give it their give me some feedback about what they think, you know, about the edit, about the mix. And then when it's done, bounce it down, upload it to YouTube, and then share it with you guys. So I hope that's been interesting, you know, just talking about the kind of process. I think my favourite part is the video editing, because it's the final stage really. It's all that work on the arrangement, the time with the players recording, the mix, the master, you know, and then we've got a video, a finished product. It's really exciting to get that done, and to kind of see the result of all the work. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed that. Please go and download the track on our Bandcamp page, or listen to it on Spotify or Apple Music. We love your feedback and everyone's comments and things on the videos, but now you can download the music and listen to it in the car or wherever you want to listen to it. And again, if you'd like to become a patron, head over to our Patreon channel. We'd really appreciate anything you can contribute to help us keep going. We love recording these projects, and we've got quite a lot coming out this month actually. We've got a video coming next Friday, the 20th of March. That's a really special one that I can't wait to release. I'm actually heading into the studio on Monday to record some other bits, but I don't want to give that away. And then we've got more coming out in April and May, all stuff that we recorded a couple of weeks ago back in February. So thanks again for watching these videos, and thanks for all your comments and feedback, and yeah, we'll be releasing more videos soon. Thanks a lot.